Psycho-Pass is my favorite anime of all time, and I'd argue also simply just the best one ever made. There's plenty of series I enjoyed that I don't think are good, but Psycho-Pass to me is perfect in both categories. Now, a lot of that is due to the brilliant Shogo Makishima, his goals and ideals, and their portrayal through his use of and clashes with other characters. Everyone from Masatake to Kogami says something about his developing ideals and the truth he seeks in an altered state of humanity under Sybil. But I see a lot of people who regard Makishima as just some sort of edgelord who throws random book quotes around to sound smart because society never paid attention to him. And thinking about that, I realized that I've never actually addressed Makishima directly, only the importance of him being there or not being there. So today we're going to take a deep dive into who Makishima is and why he does what he does through the interactions he had with other characters. Plus, I like to think that I know where he's coming from because I've seen the series way too many times, and I've taken detailed notes on every single scene he's in because I'm a nerd like that. Also, this isn't me trying to argue that it's better than you think. Okay, I do a little bit, but only really lightly at the end. But simply make an explainer that maybe there's a little bit more under the surface than you might think. Something we can see from every companion that Makishima takes on is his extreme distaste for unoriginality. This is his earliest presented characteristic, seen when he disposed of Masatake. Now, he did have an original skill. I mean, it was the ability to take on any personality and even fit a persona better than the one it originally belonged to. From the outside, this could look like the free will Makishima was searching for, someone who wasn't bound by even their own personality at all times. But on the inside, and in Masatake's final confession, we see the opposite. In his dying moments, he rushes to the avatars he stole from others, those that inspired him, and remarks how he'll keep them alive and prosperous. There's no mention or hint of something deeper in his actions, but simply loyalty to his own comfort and serenity found in these avatars. We can see from Makishima's exchanges with Kogami in their final fight that this is something he loathes about Sybil. It creates an environment where people are gifted their own little predetermined slice of serenity, so that they never come to question something greater or want for something more. And Masatake, despite his unique ability, kind of portrays this perfectly, especially in his final moments where he runs to these avatars and says he'll preserve them. It means he wasn't really acting for himself or something deeper, but just the preservation of his own little slice of serenity. And this is why Makishima gets so disappointed in him and decides to dispose of him. And this sets the stage as Makishima who really wants something more, something greater and under the surface. From there he moves on to Rikako Oreo, another person with a unique skill. Now, in Psycho-Pass society, art has pretty much lost its place. There's no need for the creation of provocative or inspiring work because there's no need for higher thought anymore. All the decisions and tough choices of your life are made by Sybil, so art in media is a matter of taste and appearance rather than substance, the thing Rikako appears to be seeking, or at least copying. Her work is mainly a derivation of her father's, following the same motif almost directly. But her father stopped his work for a reason. Once Sybil came to be, there was no need to look at and identify the darker aspects of your mind through gruesome work, something he viewed as imperative to controlling those dark corners. That was taken care of by scans and medication now. He accepted that his work was no longer needed in this new society, and welcomed this lack of purpose because it meant his end goal was achieved. So Rikako picking back up in the exact same line of work comes down to something more simple and on the surface: revenge and attention. Given the chance to cheat Sybil, she does nothing more than vie for the attention of the masses. I mean, we can see this in the placement of her art, where she says where the most people will see it, something that brings clear disappointment from Makishima. Now, for all this, she does vie for something a little bit more, which is seen when she compares the school to Sybil. It transforms its students into preset and desirable packages, a reminder of old world culture where women were simple mannered housewives. But her want to change that only extends so far. Her work changes the fate of its subjects, but only in the ways that suit her tastes. It's not about fraying people, it's about preserving the qualities she sees fit, and for a semblance of fame. When Makishima later confronts Sybil, we see again the antithesis of what his pupil was dedicated to. He openly turns down the ability to make these decisions of others' fates, and instead seeks to create an environment where free will is necessary to humans once again, something Rikako is only looking to freeze. He doesn't view himself as the blind judge worthy of deciding all these fates, but rather a simple observer out to possibly improve humanity. Rikako places too much value on herself, wanting to run the game rather than being a player in it like Makishima resigned himself to be. Whereas he wants to allow people to make their own choices, Rikako wants to change the system to be able to make the choices for them. Next is an interesting case with Toyohisa Senguchi, the man who discarded the limiting factors of the human body and seeks the thrill of life and death before his eyes. In many ways, he seems like an excellent pairing for Makishima, especially given how much time they're shown together. But I think this is intended to be just the opposite when you pay attention to Makishima's mannerisms. When they're together, he never smiles, hardly talking with him and mostly ignoring Senguchi's responses to just talk at him, and he's donned in simple clothing, contrary to the excessive and lavish nature his counterpart lives in. One of the few times they actually converse is over Senguchi's simple riddle, which Makishima solves instantly. He doesn't enjoy his company, and the man poses no intellectual challenge or service for him either. What he does do, however, is provide a physical service with his hunts, which there have possibly been up to 100 of. They allow Makishima to observe as he wishes, both a hunter and prey, testing both sides. Or at least seemingly. It's probable that he enjoyed the first few hunts from an observation standpoint, but I think by the time we see him, he's really only interested in how his prey reacts to Senguchi. I mean, for how much the man touts this life and death hunt, there's no threat actually posed on Senguchi. It's his grounds, with hunting dogs, a gun, and night vision against someone with the clothes on their back. It's not really about life and death, but just the pleasure he gets from this hunt. He even admits in his interview that he's finding new pleasures all the time, which is backed up by his surroundings and the bone pipe he makes from Rikako. His goal is simply just to live forever as a cyborg and keep himself entertained, a viewpoint he actually pushes as the only true one through quite long stretches of logic. He's never once actually risked his life in service of a valuable goal, as Makishima does later. He once again exemplifies complacency and unoriginality, even given extraordinary means to do more. Self-preservation followed by the seeking of pleasure are the two cornerstone basic essences of natural life. I believe Makishima only engaged with him to observe the final moments of his discarded allies when they were pitted against true fear, and also just have an easy means of disposal. Senguchi is the companion who really does show that Makishima wants for something more and something non-material. Although Senguchi did want something non-material, it was still a very worldly pleasure because it was just that, pleasure. So Makishima isn't just seeking his own pleasure or something material, but something greater, something much more under the surface and inherent to humanity. I mean, if he just wanted someone to kill boredom, Senguchi was the perfect option, but once he found Kogami, he had no need for Senguchi. And now he does admit that they're kind of playthings or toys, but I think there's also actually more to that under the surface. I think he's just unwilling to admit the value that he actually does get from having these companions. Hey, quick plug. So I make tons of other discussion videos, in addition to reviews, impressions, and comedy videos, all focused on the anime you love. Consider subscribing for more in the future, or checking out a few other videos on anything from utter classics to modern hits. Also, I have a Discord server linked in the description for the channel if you want to talk anime with other fans or reach me directly. Anyway, back to the video. We can also see a less selfish companionship when he sits and talks with Cho Ju-sung. They're very different men, one a theoretical and philosophical mastermind, and the other a more real-world focused hacker. He isn't simply using Makishima's gifts, regurgitating his ideas, or trying to be a match for him, but learning and respecting him without treating him too differently. They're just like friends. He calls them two ordinary, unremarkable people instigating crime in a town that isn't ordinary at all. Ju-sung is an immigrant, providing a perspective of our present world where Sybil doesn't exist. He's the only other one to accept the possibility that Sybil is the abnormal one, not Makishima, even if he doesn't express the same philosophical wants as his counterpart. But Cho respects something about the man, enough that he's not afraid to be wrong around him, and willing to truly learn and respond to him, and have a real conversation. Makishima's not a god or some special man to be revered as one, but just an ordinary person in a town that isn't ordinary at all. That's why he smiles around Ju-sung, actually responds to him, and never questions or disposes of him. They may not be intellectual equals and have much different skill sets, but they each respect each other's trade and the valuable change in viewpoint that the other one brings, as well as validating each other's viewpoints. It's not as much about toppling the world order and creating something new, as much as it is allowing humanity to regain something that was lost under Sybil, and Jusung is the only companion who's able to make this important distinction. These 4 companions, plus his witness to Kogami and Akane, are where his ideals solidify. Kogami deduces the same flaws in Rikako's work that Makishima does, then succeeds in doing the very thing Senguchi said he desired but avoided at all costs, while showing the intelligence to pick up on Shogo's hints. While this is a case of someone new, exciting, and possibly the equal he's always wanted, it's also proof of what Makishima was trying to observe. This man just exercised his free will, not only fighting for his life, but making the judgment to kill Senguchi before Sybil told him to, although he does use a Dominator to finish his job. I mean, this is the same thing that a so-called perfect system is unable to do to Makishima: place judgment. Yet a single man alone can attempt it and do it. This all comes out in his monologue before killing Yuki and testing his theory on Akane.
僕はね、人は自らの意志に基づいて行動した時のみ価値を持つと思っている。科学の英知はついに魂の秘密を暴くに至り、その判定には人の意志が介在しない。君たちは一体何を基準に？僕は人の魂の輝きが見たい。それが本当に尊いものだと確かめたい。己の意志を問うこともせず、ただシビラの信託のままに生きる人間たちに、果たして君たちでは僕の罪を計れない。僕を裁ける者がいるとしたら、それは自らの意志で人殺しになれるものだけさ。
This all boils down to a single thesis. Now, the Sybil system is operating on a very utilitarian premise. That means that it's judging actions based on the end result. Why you do an action doesn't matter. It's just what is achieved from it, the end goal, the result of how much pleasure versus how much pain. Now, Makishima seeks something more Kantian, and that's somewhat like the inverse, where it doesn't matter what happens from an action, it matters why the action was taken. So if you intend to help someone but end up killing them instead, it's still a right action because your intent was good. So in this way, even though there's blood on Makishima's hands, it could be argued that he's doing the right thing because he intends to, in his eyes, improve humanity. And it's also very Kantian because that reason, that free will for actions, is so important to them that it determines their rightness or wrongness or worth. In a sense, it really is inherent to humanity, and he's seeking to return that. No one has ever shown a will to judge him, even the god of this world. He knows his actions cause pain and displeasure, but no one has ever tried to correct them against the utilitarian principle of the world, even when given the means. Akane fails his test directly. If no one can make this simple choice, humanity has lost any real value. This is why he moves to take down Sybil. He's seen both the potential of those who discard it, and the weakness of those who cannot. Where he was only observing before, now he has a semblance of evidence to act, viewing his theory as valid enough to apply. All of this also provides backing to his decision not to join Sybil. I've covered Sybil before, and I think his escape scene does a great job of making it clear, but there are a few notes I want to cover quickly. Sybil is selfish and flawed, and there's 2 ways of looking at it trying to bring Makishima in. It's either going against its own rules to bring him in alive, or that the rules were just too flawed to judge him. Either way, the system shows a clear lack of the perfection and god status it touts, unable to do what a normal man could. They also try to throw his own idea of free will at him when asking him to join rather than forcing him, but it's a grade school level trick given he really doesn't have a choice. He's captive, and it's simply a formality being extended, exemplifying the false will he hates so much. And in the end, Sybil is like Senguchi. They put themselves at such an advantage, no one can truly resist their actions, meaning their will can never really be tested. So does it even hold any value if they don't allow it to be contested? This is why Makishima shows such an affinity for what he calls the game of life, especially as a player. He can see that his actions are validated in real life. There's pushback to them, there's push for them. There's a real validation there that he sees they have consequences and his actions matter. This is something even Sybil has cast aside, and Sybil really isn't much different from the people who are skirting around it that he's already disposed of. They've determined what they want for themselves, their little slice of serenity just like everyone else, and they're not doing anything against that. Their actions really don't matter. This quote comes from his last moments, where he indulges the more selfish portion of his actions. But before we go over that, let's disprove the idea that he's simply a faker using faux philosophy to justify acting out from no one paying attention to him. We don't have to go any further than his first real meeting with Kogami. He says directly, "I'd love to talk the night away, but I'm rather preoccupied." Finding an equal is his selfish desire, on the side, set there while he attempts to, in his eyes, return value to humanity. Plus, in their two meetings, Kogami really does provide definite validity to the fact that not just Makishima, but everyone with a greater purpose in the world is alone. Kogami decides against God to follow and kill Makishima, and it cost him a potential romance, all of his friends, and the one place that ever accepted him or gave some value to his skills. Sybil provides a sense of serenity so no one seeks for something more. Sib, don't worry about what you should be doing with your life. Sybil has placed you in the best spot. Just be happy you know that you're the best you can be because this is what Sybil has decided for you. It's not even the lack of free will, but an active suppression of it. I mean, you're happy enough with what you have, so don't fix what ain't broke. Kogami proves every facet of what Makishima states. He never once even says something contrary to Shogo's goals, and when he tries to call him out for being selfish, he only proves them further. Not to mention he provides the true threat against life that facilitates a natural and instinctual will above all. At the end, Kogami can't even deny the importance and connection they provided each other. Makishima asks if he'll ever find a replacement for him, and he can't say no, just that he hopes not. And with that gunshot, he caps off the fact that when people go against Sybil, they can become valuable in a true free will. He did something against God. And Makishima dies with a smile, seeing his ideals validified, even if he didn't succeed in spreading them to the world. It was always about that simple idea. A complex plan with many characters, but in its core, a want to prove humanity had value and return it to them. I hope that if you love Makishima as a character, this was able to deepen that for you, and then if you don't, I was possibly maybe able to sway you and see a little bit more to him that's hidden under the surface there. Now, I actually got the idea for this video when I noticed some of these small details about his character, mostly in his facial expressions. You can actually see the exact moments where he kind of gives up on his companions, where his kind of classic smile turns into a frown. And then we see with Senguchi that it's always a frown because he's been tired of him. And with Jusung, it's always he's always happy because he really is satisfied being around this man. And then with Kogami, he's the most expressive of all with his kind of half-angry, very happy, joyful smile. There's these little details about his facial expressions that really show so much about his character, and it is what inspired me to make this video. Anyway, it's about time to wrap this up, so I'll get on with my usual shtick. Link to my Discord in the description like I mentioned earlier in that little mid-roll thing. As well as, if you like this video, if you like Makishima, want to see more Psycho-Pass content, anything like that, leave a like so I know and I can make more videos like this in the future, or comment telling me you want more, or any anime you might want to see me address, or your thoughts on this video, anything I missed, or anything you want to add. So leave those in the comments down below, because I do like seeing what you all have to say. Also, if you want to stick around for more, I'll put some more videos up on screen, accidentally hit my mic, as well as that little subscribe thing if you want to stick around for some more great anime content. Anyway, I'll stop rambling, let you get back on with today and just say thank you for watching, and I hope I'll see you again soon. Maybe I'll be talking about something similar to Psycho-Pass. Let me know what's similar to Psycho-Pass!